Okay, good evening, everyone. Just to welcome you to the BCS Cybercrime Forensics, BCS e-learning, and especially for the initial BCS Cybercrime Forensics AGM. Welcome, everyone. My name is Adrian Winkles from the University of Gloucester, who is going to talk about teaching cyber forensics in the COVID era. And over to you, Stuart.
Hello there. I hope this is working. Are we okay there, Anne? Is everything coming up on the screen?
Yes.
First time I use the software, so I'm just checking that everything goes according to plan.
We're recording it as well until we come to questions at the end.
Marvelous. Okay, so we've got the screen up, we've got the slides up. Well, let's go for it. Hi, everybody. My name's Stuart Richards. I'm the academic course leader for cyber forensics at the University of Gloucestershire. And we're going to talk tonight about what we do and how we manage to do it in these troubled times. So first off, a little bit about my favorite subject, which is me. My background is in electronic security, surveillance, protection, diplomatic protection, looking after pop stars, politicians, all that sort of stuff. I did 17 years of that and decided I was getting a little bit old and a little bit slow, so I joined the police because I thought that's where all the old slow people go. I spent 10 years with Gwent and South Wales Police. It was a joint unit where I was originally went there to deal with surveillance type issues, but within a couple of weeks of me starting, I found the computer they were using to examine mobile phones. I thought, this is great fun. I want to play with this some more. And at the end of my 10 years there, I was the lead of the mobile device examination unit. I was responsible for examining mobile phones that were captured from naughty people and finding out everything we could about them. And obviously I was responsible for training for officers on how to go about getting that information. After 10 years, I became slightly disillusioned and a lot heavier. And I thought, well, I'll go into the private sector. I went into the private sector for a short while, became very disillusioned with the private sector because I realized it was all about defending people and getting people off the charges rather than doing what I've always done, which is catch bad guys. And just as I was about to throw my teddy bear out of the pram, an opportunity presented itself at the University of Gloucester, and I turned up for the interview, and I got to be honest, I have been so happy there ever since. It's the best thing I've ever done. So from my background, you can see that I'm kind of got an alter ego. I do like to think I'm Batman. Most of the students call me Batman or you or Fat Boy, but most of the time they call me Batman, and they mean it with affection, I hope, because I like to catch bad guys. I like to teach them how to catch bad guys. And that's basically been my raison d'etre for, well, for quite a long time. So, how do we teach cyber forensics? Well, the traditional module delivery, the good old-fashioned way of doing it before the world turned upside down, was fairly straightforward. And those of you involved in education will understand, you know, we stand there in front of the class, we give them the information they require. Now, the lecture you've got, the screen you've got there shows my lab, but not me. It's another one of my colleagues, Will, who's actually from the games department because we share labs. So it's the similar, well, we use that setup, but it's not me in the middle of these pictures. So traditional delivery would be, hello, everybody. How's things been? Are you all ready to start learning? Come on, this is what we're going to do today. So we'd set out the aims for the day. So today we're going to look at how we recover data from an iPhone 5 with a smashed screen. And we launch into how that's done. We get the students to log into the system, depending on what software we're using, and they can start to work along with us. And that's the important thing, they work along with us. We wander around the lectures. It's a question of, hi guys, okay, now push this button. Now push this, let's see what happens. Oh my God, what have you done there? How have you managed to break that? No, you plugged it in the wrong spot. And myself, along with a couple of student assistants that we have on each course, would wander around the labs, and we'd get the things done. We'd get to where we need to go. That's the traditional way of delivering the lectures. And, you know, it's familiar to everybody that's been in a university environment. Although my deliveries tend to be a little bit more chaotic. I tend to get excited about what I do, and I tend to get people excited about it. It's not uncommon for there to be lots of shouting in my lectures and lots of laughing. I work on the assumption that you remember things when you cry and when you laugh, and I'm not allowed to make people cry anymore, apparently, so I've got to make them laugh. So when we're working through a session in the traditional delivery, we're looking over their shoulders, we're walking around, we're interfering, we're being there to help. We get the successes that somebody does. If a student manages to achieve something, then, you know, hey, everybody, tell everybody about this, tell everybody what you've done. And when you make a mistake, that's really important. I was always taught to learn from people's mistakes, especially other people's, because that way you don't have to make that mistake yourself. So again, that's something we encourage. We encourage people to share their disasters. And there's little conversations you have when you're walking around the room. Somebody will say, well, Steve, what happens if this happens on a mobile phone? How do I do that? What happens if the computer's got this going on in the background? Something that you wouldn't really think of when you're delivering the lecture, and you think, oh, everybody needs to know this. And again, it's quite common for me to say, right, listen in, everybody. Listen to what student A has just said. What do you think about it? How can we work around that? And the thing that really I find as a benefit is, it's lazy by me, I know. You get those strong students, you get especially the mature students, the ones who've got experience of life. And they're there, and a lot of the young, shy, new students don't want to ask the questions of the big guy that's shouting in the middle of the room. But they'll talk to the guy next to them, they'll talk to the girl next to them. They say, look, you know, I don't really understand what the big guy's talking about. What does that mean? And those students are an absolute godsend on any course, because they assist with the course without even realizing it. They're the ones that generally become the student assistants in their third year. And, you know, they are part of the learning experience for everybody. And of course, when you're working in the lab, it works. Yeah. Okay, it normally works. Again, anybody that's been involved in education will know that even the best made plans don't survive contact with the enemy. Yeah, we hope it works. But if it doesn't quite work, well, we can normally sort it there and then. We can look at what's going on. We can interact with the system and say, oh, look, you haven't pressed this button. Oh, no, you're in the wrong folder. Oh, no, that's not the mouse for this computer. You're using the one for the next to it. Swap the mouse over. Yeah, simple stuff, but it really is easy to work with that simple stuff. And of course, if you're in the lab, we can give you something physical to play with. We can give you a USB to work with. We can give you a disk to image. We can give you a phone to pull apart so you can see how it connects. You can work with that kit that we've got in front of us. And again, the kit is really important. Have we got all the kit we need? Now, you know, forensic examination equipment is expensive. In fact, it's very expensive, some of the good stuff. We're very fortunate at the University of Gloucestershire. We've got a great working relationship with a company called Celebrate, and their UFED extraction system is one of the market leaders in what they do. It's used by all 43 police forces. It's an amazing bit of kit, but oh, it's expensive. But we're really lucky, and they managed to do me a good deal on a kit and the licenses for it. Even with that, though, we still haven't got enough to go around everybody. We've got to share sort of in groups of 2 or 3 to use the equipment. Things like write blockers. You know, a decent write blocker is a lot of money. Well, I can't afford to buy one for every student. You know, we can use software write blockers, but a good physical write blocker, something like a Tableau, you know, that's a lot of money. So we need to be able to share them among students. And of course, in the good old days, that's what we could do. We'd have a group of working together, and working together was really important because it meant that they would discuss and break things together and fix things together. And of course, my favorite bit, and I've got to admit that these are being my favorites, is that student. You know, and every course is going to have one. And again, if you're involved in education in any way, you know you're going to get that one individual. He's a bit of a know-it-all. He knows what he's talking about. But he does know what he's talking about. That's the worst part about it. And he helps the others. Okay, we get the quiet ones, but you also get the one roadie one. And the one roadie one is always my favorite. I love these people because they start that conversation. They start the learning process. You know, they can be an absolute nightmare. I got one student a couple of years ago who was an absolute nightmare. I took a real dislike to him from the moment I met him. I don't know why. It was just one of those things I really didn't like him. But he was good. He was very good. He was exceedingly good. And eventually, the second year, I kind of took a bit of a shine to him. The third year, I realized, yeah, this guy's really good. When he did his masters, I thought this guy's absolutely amazing. You know, I'm glad we've got him. And then he did his PGCE, and he's now going off into education to become a science teacher for primary schools. And he's going to do amazingly well. And I'm so glad that I met the guy. I'm so glad that we got together, that we managed to work through our dislike. Well, actually, it was a one-way street. I disliked him. Apparently, he adored me. But there we go. So they're the things that you need in a study group when you're teaching, when you're delivering content. They're the people you need. But of course, when the lecture's over, you open up the floor. Come on, let's have some questions from you. And at first it's a little trickle, but then everybody starts to get involved. But everybody hears those answers. Everybody gets to be part of the process. The little shy student that sat in the corner, eventually maybe you can encourage them to speak. You know, maybe they can start to get involved. And especially when we've got students who've got, you know, additional learning needs. That's really rewarding when one of them suddenly comes out of their shell and starts to discuss things with you. You know, and that's a great moment. That it really is a great moment. You've got the student, you know, you can tell just by looking at them that they're struggling. You can look at their face when you're talking about something like, he didn't get that. They didn't understand that. Right, I'll have a chat with them before they leave. And you get a student buddy system, which is absolutely amazing, where you'll get that gang of 4 students who are going to be stuck together and will do everything together. And okay, they may help each other with some of their work in the first year. You know, I'm not really worried about that, because the second year and the third year, they really put the effort in. And these buddies that they form in university will be there for life. My son is still in contact, and I know I don't look old enough to have a 30-year-old son, but my son's still in contact with all his uni buddies. In fact, it's been quite difficult this year to get on Zoom without them jumping in and joining in. And you get direct feedback from the room, and that's really important. What I'm doing now is alien to me, because I can't see people. I can't feed off the energy in the room. And you know, that's how I function. That's how I know that I'm getting somewhere. When they groan at my terrible jokes, you know, when they turn around and say, well, Steve, you know, I didn't get that. Explain it to me again. And I explain it in a different way. And I think, oh yeah, I understand that now. And I think, okay, I've got to them. I know I'm working with them. That's all gone. Teaching now in this COVID era is very different. It's a very different beast. Some of it, there are some advantages, definitely, but I'm still not happy. I'd rather be back with my gang. That's the best way of putting it. So, what are the challenges then of this delivering our skills to people during the COVID regime then? Well, one thing you see a lot of in the press is the internet poverty. Have they got what they need to be able to do the course? Lack of suitable equipment. I mean, I had one student telling me that, oh, they couldn't do it because they only had a Mac. They only had a Mac. What a 21st century problem to have. Yeah, so, you know, run a virtual machine, get a laptop. I don't care, but surely you can do something with it. Oh no, I don't know what to do. Well, obviously you need to adapt, get on with it. And again, with a little bit of work, we can do that. What about if they're not the only one on the internet connection? You know, I'm quite fortunate in my setup here. I've got a decent internet connection. The wife could be watching something on Disney Plus, and I can still be working away and delivering a lecture and possibly running some other stuff in the background as well. But, you know, in student environments, sometimes that's not possible. If there's 6 or 7 students living in the same building, there's only one internet connection come in, who gets priority? What if they've got a media student there that needs to upload his video? What if they've got gaming students in there and they want to upload games and play games all day long, which is what normally happens? You know, how do they work with that? And then there's the actual environment you're working in. If you're working from home, have you got siblings there that want to use the system or want to be babysat? You know, are you the oldest sibling and you got to look after the youngsters that aren't in school because school's not there anymore? You know, is it a noisy environment? Is there a lot going on in the house? Are your parents working from home? You know, is your significant other working from home? There's so many different things that impact on the ability to do the basic tasks. And again, that's something the university's trying to address. We've looked at providing kit for the students, but the biggest problem is the students don't tell us they're in these situations. It's only when it goes really wrong that we find out about it. And that's been a real challenge to what we do. I found this on the internet. I couldn't find the author, which is one of these random things. I thought it really applies here. Cats don't like to be herded. In fact, you can't really herd cats. Cats prefer to herd themselves. Cats understand they sometimes need to be herded, but it doesn't make it any easier to corral them, does it? And cats don't like being reminded they're being herded. If you tell them what they're doing, they don't like that. And harsh herding, shouting at them, has negative consequences. Well, for every time you said cat, think student. And that's exactly what we have to deal with. They don't like being told what to do because they're grown-ups. They're in university or at university online or missing out on university, and they've got their little brother playing by their feet, or their dad's trying to upload the latest sales figures and his boss is getting really annoyed. But that's the way that cats or students react. And we've got to be conscious of that, and we've got to find ways of dealing with that. Sometimes that's a lot easier said than done. Where's that personal touch? That's the bit I miss the most. Obviously, you've got a quick screenshot here of one of my lectures. This is before the lecture even started. This was like 10 minutes before the lecture started, when people started turning up. And I can look at the screens and I've got, who's JM? Is that Jack Morris? Is that John Major? You know, is it Jim Morrison? You never know. Are these people, who are these people? Because it's really difficult to figure out which one's which. And, you know, you look at the pictures and you think, well, who's that? I know that picture there. Yeah. No, do I? Is that Eloise or is that Emily? Not sure. Oh, I know that. I definitely know that one because he's one of mine. He's a Welsh guy, and we, you know, we have similar hobbies. He's a judoka as well. He likes doing judo. So I know that guy. I know he's one of mine. But look at this. That's the way. That's the only personalization we get. We don't get to interact with them properly. We don't get to walk in the room and do the fist bumps. You don't get to walk in the room and say, my God, what are those trainers you're wearing? They're absolutely amazing. What the hell is that rucksack all about? All the stuff that we've done to bond with the students, to build the learning experience, we don't get to do that. Now, when it comes to delivering lectures, what is the best way of doing that? Well, the answer is nobody knows. We've looked at many different delivery systems, including pre-recorded lectures, including delivery just of use the PowerPoint, read it and ask me questions. And by far the most effective for me, and it's only for me, I couldn't say how my colleagues feel about it, is Teams. Now, at the point, I'm not being sponsored by Microsoft, and, you know, as far as I'm concerned, they are a big evil, but it works. It's easy to control, it's easy to use. We can update the content quite easily. We can deliver our teaching via the system quite easily. The messaging is really great and straightforward. If you need to contact somebody, if you need to contact the group, we can email the group. If you need an individual, we can pull an individual out. We can chat to our students, which is really important to me. As you've gathered, I like talking to people. And to be able to use Teams to interact with the students. And my favorite thing is saying, right, somebody put their hand up, talk to me, tell me about it. Tell me what you know. Tell me what you want to know now. You know, give me some answers. Talk to me. And that really works in Teams. That does what it needs to do. The breakout rooms are absolutely fantastic. We can send the students off into a little area of 4 or 5 students to work as a group. And the latest function, which I find is really good, is it randomizes these groups. So instead of getting the same little clique that all sit together and work together, and we know we're going to do well, some of these good students, or these better students, if you want to put it that way, can go out with the rest of the students, with the also-rans, with the ones that need a little bit of a boost. And that makes life so much easier for me. They get to interact with different people. And again, it is part of the university experience they should be having. It's part of the interaction with different people, different cultures, different lifestyles. All of these things are part of the experience that they're not really getting at the moment. Teams as a work environment is important because you can use the team notebook. When I first discovered this, and I did discover it, it wasn't a question of I went looking for a tool, like, oh, what's this do? The fact that we can put together a work program in a notebook, which is the same as a OneNote setup, basically. You put together this great big file of information with pages and sections and links and areas that they can fill in. And I can go back and look at the work they've done. I can keep them checking their progress. I don't need to ask them to submit me a piece of work every week. I can look at what they've done. And that way they don't feel like they're being given homework, post-sessional studies. They feel like they're just continuing on from what they've done in the lectures. And I can look at these submission points, and that can help me gauge as to whether the students are actually getting what we're telling them. And I quite like it. I've got to be honest, I do quite like it. I was very resistant at first because it's big corporations. I don't like big corporations' toys, but I did find I was pleasantly surprised with Teams. And if you are delivering this sort of thing, it's well worth looking at. So the practical problems then of remote delivery. The data. What do we do with all these data sets? How do we give somebody a 5 gig or a 10 gig or a 15 gig file to work on? When we were in the labs, it was easy enough. I could literally throw USBs at people. And I quite often did. You know, I'd have a box of USBs preset with what I needed. I'd say, go on, guys, have a go at these. You know, make an image of that. Tell me what's on there. Tell me how to find the images. Carve the data from it. We could do that quite easily. To deliver to 30 or 40 students remotely, then there would be 40 different mail shots, and the USBs might not arrive on time, and the courier didn't bring it. So we've gone to obviously online delivery of data. But again, a 32 gig USB, that's 32 gig of data somebody's got to download into their house, download into their machine, and that's starting to be a problem. And we thought, well, this can't be the right way of doing things. Sometimes it works, yes, but a lot of the time it doesn't. And what about when we've got things like mobile phones to examine? You know, I can't send the cable kit. That's just a fraction of the cable kit you see on the screen there. I couldn't send one of them to every student because we physically couldn't do it with the logistics and, more importantly, the money involved. You know, those cable kits are very expensive. I've got 5 cable kits to go amongst the students. So do we give somebody one each week? And then what happens when there's bits lost? No, we can't do that. And again, like I said earlier, with the write blockers, you know, a nice little write blocker like that, great, we've got them in the lab, but how do we do that at home? It really is an issue that plays on your mind because you're not giving the full experience of the forensic examination. And there where the real fun starts, is with the software. Yes, you can use open source, and I do like to use open source. I'm a cheapskate. I love to use free things. and make sure they work, and then the students get them for nothing. They get value from what they're doing. They get to have the experience they need. Yeah, so we can look at that. So they download the stuff that works for them. But when I've had students say, well, Stu, I've downloaded the Cybercrime software and it doesn't work, I need a dongle. Yes, you do need a dongle. And it's very, very expensive. It's hideously expensive. So again, you've got to watch that to see where, you know, what we can actually provide for them. Remote licenses. We looked at this. Again, it proved to be an expensive option. And more importantly, the people that provide those licenses want to know how we're going to control the use of those licenses. So we sent mobile phone extraction software. What was to stop those students from setting up their own little commercial business and start downloading software and downloading phones and recovering data for people? So again, we had to look at how we could do that. And we figured the best way of doing that was obviously to remote in. This is the one that really gets to me. In fact, it upsets me a little bit. My favorite module on the course, the one that everybody seems to enjoy, the one I know I definitely enjoy the most, is the crime scene module, where we actually take the students into our crime scene house, because we have a crime scene house over at the FCH campus that the wet forensics teams use, but we use it as well for the digital forensics team. And we take them in there to give them an idea of what environment they might encounter if they were ever to be called upon to go out and assist in the field. And we show them, you know, this is a laptop, what are you going to do with it? It's switched on, you can switch it off. And straight away, they'll look at the laptop and start looking at what's going on. And think, well, hold on, you've interfered with the data there. So it gets them used to the process. Again, they can make the mistakes there before they make the mistakes in the real world. And who doesn't love putting on one of these forensic suits and running around pretending you're from CSI? The students love it. I love it because we have some great fun with it. And it's all scenario based. The entire week of the crime scene module is based around the crime scene scenario. This year we're doing an individual who's been trying to destroy 5G masts, because obviously the 5G masts are causing the COVID virus. So we've got an entire scenario based around that, which took some time to set up, involved me going around a lot of places. Luckily I took my motorbike, so it was nice and quiet and quick. And we went out and we took photographs of masts, and we put together a whole scenario about attacking and planting bombs and all sorts of things. And hopefully they'll do well on this one. The good thing about that is we can actually use that data for all 3 years, for the first year, second year, and third year. Different elements of it can be applied to the course. Right, enough of the doom and gloom about what goes wrong. Let's see what works. Let's see what actually working for us on these remote deliveries. And it's pretty much, yeah, some of it's working. Remoting into our systems works. It took a long while to get the university systems to accept remote logins, but I think we've got it cracked now. I've been assured we have. We've got it to work the last 2 weeks, which is 2 weeks on the trot is good for me. I like that. If it works, that's fine. And using our system, we can remote into the desktops in the labs, and then using the desktops in the labs, we can run the software on them. So basically, you've got a remote terminal right in a powerful machine in the lab, and it works. It's not quite the way we want it to work, but nevertheless, it works. So at least the students get the experience of working with software such as FTK, the Access Data tool, amazing tool, but again, expensive tool. But we're working on remote access with that now, and we don't have to worry that the students only run in with a 4-year-old laptop that isn't very powerful, because all he's doing is reviewing the data on the machine. That is the definite advantage. That is definitely working for us. The data sets, we found a way of dealing with that, in that I put them onto the university's hard drive systems, and we just drag them across. We've set up a folder that the students can access directly and can work with the large data sets. So I can put that 32 gig download of a mobile phone, and lots of people can work on it. Again, it's simple stuff, but you need to think about these things when you're setting up the remote delivery. So our assignments are generally based on a scenario every year. Here's an example of one. This is the second assignment for the level 4 students, so the first year students. As you can see, we're looking at an eco-terrorist cell, and we've discovered a USB. Now, normally they'd be given a USB that they have to sign for, sign the exhibit bag, do notes to show that they've carried it back and forth, and obviously we put the wrong date on bags and other such things, just to see if they pick up those anomalies with their evidence. This year it's going to be different. Obviously, they're going to get an image to work with. So we've written a little scenario around that, in that they're not frontline responders, they're working in the lab and they've just been given an EO1 file to work with. But again, you know, the information's in there. The information will be in that USB. The good thing is this USB actually belongs in the year 3 and the second year and the third year scenario. We take this USB as being plugged into the computer that they're going to be looking at in the final year. The level 6 students, then our third year students, will be looking at a small laptop that this USB is being connected to, and they've got to prove the connections. So there's a lot of interaction, which normally would be done in the labs, but it works. We've got the information back and forth to the students. We've kind of taken some of the physical side out of it, where we actually hand things over. It's all going to be done sort of via emails and electronically, but I think it's going to work for us. Only time will tell, though, obviously. The work groups and teams really works. Students are starting to talk to each other more outside of the university environment, outside of the lecture environment. We're starting to get to see little groups forming, which is great, because they're offering mutual support to each other. Common questions are good, because if they're using the team chat, if I answer the question that Wynne has asked me, well, maybe 6 others wanted to ask that question and haven't got around to it, or didn't even know that they wanted to ask that question, but they can see the chat logs, they can see what's going on, and they can see that there's useful information there. I also get to see that if 3 or 4 people are asking the same question, maybe I didn't get it quite right in the lecture, maybe I didn't do as well as I thought I did. And again, in the next session, then we can discuss with the students and they can help us with that, because it's a two-way street, obviously. And, you know, all learning, all knowledge is a two-way street. They can get used to working with staff in different areas of the department, because we could have different members of staff with a different skill set that drop in on teams and give advice anyway. And these are the ones that really help, I think, that even though people are saying this remote delivery is impacting on the students in a negative way, I think it's impacting in a positive way, because it enhances their communication skills. It teaches them how to craft a question. It teaches them how to interact with people. It teaches them how to be polite even, which I know is a rare event with among students. But if they're doing a lot of online communication, then they get ready for the world of work. And at the end of the day, that's what we want. We want them to be employed. You know, I've never been one for thinking, you know, a university can be judged on the amount of first-class degrees it produces. No, a university should be judged on the amount of people that are in full-time employment 6 months after they've graduated, and what jobs they're doing. Are they happy? Are they being paid enough for them? And that really is important. Yeah, and I think remote working is here to stay, full stop. Because if we just look at a simple timeline, this semester's written off. We're not going to be able to be back in the labs in this semester, just down to vaccination timelines, let alone anything else. Before the politics gets into it, it's just physically not possible to do it. I think remote working is here to stay. I think we need to look at the way the university is structured. I need to look at the way education is structured. And I think there's a lot of positives to come out of this horrible situation we've been in. The students are pushing us forward with this. Feedback from them is essential. I make sure that the students tell me what they think. I've got a lovely way of running things in the chat amongst rules where they can tell me whatever they want. I don't care what they say to me. In personal tutor meetings, I even tell them, look, if you use the language you want to use, don't think you're talking to a member of staff. You're talking to somebody who wants to listen to what you have to say. So if you tend to, swear a lot, I was brought up around paratroopers. I spent my working life with the military and the police. Nothing you say is going to embarrass me or offend me unless it's aimed at me. And then I might get annoyed. But otherwise, I can put up with whatever you have to say. They need to tell us what works. They need to tell us what doesn't work. And that's more important, to be honest. What do the employers want from these training sessions? What do employers want their graduates to know? I make a big point of contacting a lot of my old colleagues in the police and saying, look, what's happening now? What's coming through the door? What do you need from somebody that's going to come and work for you? And they say, what, do you want to come back? And I say, no, I definitely don't want to come back, but I want to send some of my proteges out there. What do you need from them? And that's really important. As an industry, as an education system, we need to find out what people want, and we need to deliver that, because that doesn't really happen as much as it should do. And again, a really important thing is to share the best practice. We need to know what's going on in the world. We need to share that information. What does the local forensic unit do? What does the National Crime Agency do? What does the guy working for the insurance company do? This is what it all boils down to. Improvise, adapt, overcome. Now, I like this phrase. I don't like the fact that I pinched it from the US Marines. I say my background is airborne, so paratroopers, etc. We're not very fond of Marines, and I know all you down in the Isle of Wight, or from part of the Isle of Wight cluster, know there's a lot of Marines down there, and those sort of soldiers. Go on now. No, I will take the mick out of Marines. They'll take the mick out of my lot. We always do. But this is really important. This is what we need to do. We need to improvise. We need to make things work for us. We need to adapt them to make them do what we need them to do. And we need to overcome the challenge this horrible virus has presented us with. Well, that's me. I'm going to open the floor to questions now, and hopefully there's some discussion to be had. So I've now got to figure out how I start this presentation.